the kids that are getting married while they're still in college.
Don't have
There's
any
still
money.
money
Yeah.
coming out from them.
Here's
Exactly
your
right.
$10.
Not too many parents think about, hey, we're going to put $30,000, $40,000
No,
towards a wedding.
You think about college. You don't think about saving for weddings when they're little.
This is the loud, quiet, living the empty nest.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to episode 73 of The Loud Quiet. You can tell for those that are watching, and well, hopefully not for those that are listening, but we will see what the audio sounds like. But we are not in our normal studio. We are also not just with ourselves, which I know will be a happy delight for those of y'all who are a little tired of seeing Rick and Clancy all the time. So here's a chance for something new today with episode 73.
Yes, we have return guests.
Oh, our first return guest.
I know,
That's right.
Yes,
Hey.
Aeryn and JP Schiffer. They have graciously come back on because we want to talk about a next stage in life as an empty nester. And again, just the background, our girls did drill team together, very good friends. We met, well, I guess we re-met in those high school years, and yes, have formed a friendship. They just live literally up the street, so it's very nice. So yes, so they have an older daughter who is a nurse, Avery, and she is getting married in just a few months, which, I need to RSVP for that wedding. There's my RSVP. No, I will do it
it's on video.
I will do it.
Like, you're not going to get a more solid RSVP than that, are you?
We had a verbal and a video. It's like,
That's right. Well, yeah, when you talk about what next phase of life is, there's a lot of empty nest ones. We've been so focused on the kids are out, and then the kids kind of maybe they graduate or those kind of things. But man, the wedding, the intensity associated with that, we're excited to hear more about what that is going to be like.
So Avery is graduated. She is now working as a nurse. And, she got engaged while she was still in school, right?
Her senior year, yeah.
Yes.
So her senior year, she got engaged, yeah.
What'd you think about that?
It was good. It was funny. They actually, I guess he came and kind of asked us, if they
That's
could get
good.
married and that kind of
Very
thing.
good.
And so it was kind of nice because I actually got to go, which usually doesn't happen. And so, just asking questions and things like that. And so
Good job, fiance.
I
Good
know,
job.
right? Good job. And so that's been good. She actually, so first step, she's actually going to move out.
Yes.
So we were empty nesters and then became not empty nesters when she moved back because it was just, logistically, it wasn't,
it just didn't make sense.
yeah, trying to find somewhere for them to live,
Or for her to come straight out of school. She didn't actually start, working right away, and she still needed to go through her own orientation at work. So for her to go and get a place, and then, I guess it'd probably be 7 months later, go and find a place for the two of them.
Right.
And I don't mean the market, even for apartments, sometimes is a little bit, it's tight.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people moving here, if you guys haven't noticed.
Yeah. And
So-
pricey for
Yes.
especially
Right.
these
Yeah.
kids just getting out of
We
school.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Like, I know this is not what we'll spend time talking about today, but I have no idea how kids are getting into homes,
have
how
no
they're
idea.
getting into apartments, how in
Yeah.
their young
Even
professional
apartments,
life.
you always had
Yeah.
the backup of an apartment when you
Yeah.
got out, but now the apartment prices are like a mortgage
they
on
are.
a three-bedroom home.
Right.
Yeah.
We were really surprised. I mean, because when we first came out of school, it was literally a third the price of what it is now and we had a larger. I'm pretty sure we had. It's about the same size place, I guess, for what they're actually moving into.
Oh, yeah.
So it's but 3 times the price of what it was back then. I can't even fathom, like you said, coming out of school and being able to afford something like that right off the bat. And I was like,
Yeah.
we said, kind of stay at the house. Obviously, there's not really the major rules or anything like that because she's an adult. But
Well, look, let me stop you down on that. I want to talk about what the experience is like having an adult child, an adult independent child living under your roof. We'll get into the wedding planning part, but just start
Now, let's
there.
say
What's
Avery is
that
also
like?
a very good child. It might be different experiences for different people.
What was that like having an adult child who's independent? I mean, it's still your house.
Yeah.
right, I can't say that it's without some conflict, and I mean she can probably agree with this. There's a little bit of, hey, you live in this house, you still need to kind of pull your weight, on certain things, and we're not talking about financially. We're just talking about doing things around the house. So, but at the same time, it's just like, okay, she's an adult, she has a job, she has things that she needs to do as well, and then I guess probably Aaron could probably talk about the more transitioning, things over for her to have responsibility for versus,
Was it, so
Oh, yeah, talk about
Oh,
that,
yeah.
because
Yeah,
I know
so-
we've talked about that some, like transitioning insurance to her
Yes.
car insurance, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's been a big one. Is just like, and then them understanding all that, because I mean, obviously, I don't know, like school doesn't teach them just the normal things that, how do you get a credit card and pay it off, and and all those type of things. But yeah, we've slowly transitioned all of her stuff. She kind of pays us like a monthly fee right now, for just because her car insurance is still under us, but we've transitioned her title to of her car to her. We've but and walking through that process with her, and just like, okay, you now have we've taken all of the credit cards that we used to pay back from her, and so she has her own credit cards to go to the grocery store, and but she's still. That's the funny thing is, it's like, because she's still in the house, when we go to the grocery store, there's still things that are on the list that we just buy them because it's just easier.
it's going to take more
Yeah.
effort to
Yeah.
separate
Well,
how many of those Oreos
Yeah.
are yours versus
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
Oreos.
But what's funny is, it's like, I think it'll be really good for her to live in the apartment, because she's like, oh well, like, was it the other day, we were laughing because we were like, you need to go to the grocery store. She's like, yeah, I don't know if I have much time to do that. I'm like, you work 3 days a week.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
Sorry, Avery.
Yeah.
3-4 days a week. I mean,
and so just those type of things. But yeah,
it'll be good for her to have
Oh,
that
yeah, it'll be
independent
really
living,
good.
because
Yes.
she's had roommates
Yes.
all through college, and then she moved back home.
Yes.
So yeah, I can see that, and it is, Tanner's having he had a little bit of a shock of, oh, I don't have people
Yeah.
in my space to hang out with,
Yes.
Right.
or.
Yeah, he
so-
starts talking about getting a pet.
Yeah.
We're like, no, that's not the answer. Learn to be with yourself.
Yeah,
Right,
so
yeah.
yeah, that'll be interesting for her to do that for a few months before.
well, I mean, did either of you live alone at any point?
I did.
Like without roommates or anything?
Yeah, I did.
I don't think I did.
I don't think you did.
Even
I
my
didn't either,
well,
really.
I would be in my crash pad by myself
sure.
a lot and traveling a lot, but
For a crash
live,
pad, for those
no.
that don't know what you're talking about, is
Yeah.
when you're a flight attendant and
Yeah.
you're based not in your home base. 12 of y'all get an apartment together, and you just
Yeah.
it's like a timeshare,
Rotated, yeah.
basically. That okay, I'm going to be here 2 nights.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, when I first got out of school, I lived alone, I guess, for a year, I guess. So, I mean, that was an adjustment period. And we're hoping that with this move for her, this will be, kind of those eye openers, things that she doesn't think through, that she's been reliant on us to take care of. Well,
Yeah.
was it just scheduling, or was it a conscious choice that you wanted her to have a season of life where it was independent before she got married?
I think it's more scheduling. So as she's gotten her job, and she's a nurse, she works 12-hour shifts. It's really hard for her. And when I say 12-hour shifts, they're usually there a good hour and a half after the 12-hour shift is
Yeah.
ended. And so just even driving home is tiring, and things like that. So kind of having her own space to, and it's close to the hospital, so she can kind of get there. I think that's going to be really, really good for her.
yeah.
But yeah, it'll be a good experience.
When we say close to the hospital, we mean walking
Yeah,
across
she can
the
walk.
street.
That's so nice.
She can walk.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah,
Very-
and
very
that's a
convenient.
neat.
We're not giving any more details.
And that's a
Remember,
neat
this is-
area. Yeah. Yeah.
We're not defining what that area is.
No.
Yeah.
But it is a
good
neat
place to
area.
live.
Yeah. Okay. So what month did they get engaged?
You'd have to ask
I
that.
remember.
Oh, you should have that answer
It was
like
like
that.
April or May
Okay.
of last year, because we went down and did the kind of ruse was to do senior pictures with her and her roommate, and so she was dressed nicely because she said she didn't want to get engaged in sweats, and so she had gotten dressed up, and so that was when she got engaged, was then. So
I guess that is right.
Yeah.
It would have been April last year.
Yeah.
Okay. So and then the wedding
almost
is
a year.
the wedding's in May. All right. So what was the very first thing, if you can remember? What's the first thing y'all did? Was it venue? Was
venue,
it okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Venue was that was the first thing, because a lot of things now with venues is they have rules behind them. So like depending on where you have the venue, they may require certain vendors, and they
Yeah.
may require certain things. So you kind of have to nail that down first.
Okay.
So that was kind of the first step. They did that pretty much on their own. Like, it was funny because they kept saying, "Oh, well, you know," they wanted kind of our help doing a lot of that stuff, and I was like, "I'll help you. Like, I'll find kind of price wise, what venues are good, but you guys need to go and actually go through them
Right.
and see if it's what you want. And we do the same thing kind of with the food stuff. They didn't really even know where to start. And so I have there's all kinds of Facebook pages, right? And so I found one with North Texas and found a couple food places and had them go try them.
And see, that right there
Yeah.
is so nice because
Yeah.
when we were all getting
I
married,
know.
there wasn't like, oh, let me just
Facebook.
clickety-click, look up and see. Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
The internet? What is
well,
that?
we know these venues, we know these photographers.
Yeah.
It was like the wedding photographer in Plano that everyone used and the
Yes.
florist that everyone used. Yeah.
Well, and think about our era too. Think about Plano. It was, well, do you want this hotel
Yeah.
or that hotel?
Right.
It was very AB.
Right.
There was not a lot of choice back then.
Yeah, and now,
Yeah.
we all traditionally got married in the church. Now and I love all these venues. I think it's nice that you can do everything at one place and,
Yeah.
still bring in the things that you want
Yeah.
to bring in. We probably would have preferred an outside wedding
Well,
venue like that, but
Knowing what happened
Well,
on our
not on
wedding
our
day, I'm
day,
glad
yeah.
we didn't. It was a tornado
Oh,
warning,
yeah.
like actual warning that day. So,
That's
But yeah.
so it kind of worked out.
yeah. So how has the process been, how has the dad process been? And I know you've been involved in a lot of it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I was involved in the like even the proposal. That part was kind of interesting because I was really kind of confused when I was first. I guess when he first came and started talking to me about all of it, I was just like, wait, so are you asking for her hand in marriage, or are you asking me how to actually propose to her? I mean, it was great just kind of having that. Him trusting, me right from the get-go to help him through the process, of something, for somebody who he loves a lot, and that, to me, that meant a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Do you find yourself?
get lost for words on some
Yeah,
of it.
no, well, it's your daughter,
Yeah.
it's,
Do you
So just wait
find
till the wedding, I'll have a
yourself?
mess.
We didn't bring Kleenexes up.
I know,
there, so do you find yourself, because I know you're a very process guy, you have a lot of logic too. Do you find yourself wanting to get more involved than they want you to get involved? Actually, let me ask this question a little more generically. Have y'all found that there are certain boundaries that are being set up that you're either trip over, that you're learning how to navigate this major life decision with your daughter and her fiance?
I think, and this is interesting that you kind of brought up the process oriented. I think both Aaron and I we're both kind of we both think that way. It's more of what are the check boxes that we need to go through. What's the process that needs to happen? What are the things that you need to think about that somebody else forgot about in their wedding or something like that. Obviously, things have changed, kind of like you guys said, from the venue and everything else, or how you actually go through looking at a venue. We know things are different now, so it's like, and luckily my niece and my nephew have both gotten married recently, so that actually
No, it's good,
kind of helped
yeah.
us out a lot. So my sister kind of gave us a lot of information on how we could actually go through this process and actually do it pretty successfully, but also not to get in their way, but then gentle nudges and reminders of you need to consider this, you need to probably look at this, and I think Aaron and Avery probably kind of went through most of it at the beginning, so I don't really, luckily I haven't had to be too involved, but it's kind of nice because what are your thoughts on something, and I can actually kind of give an opinion, but I don't have to like force anything.
JP, I want to ask you something that you said there, and I don't remember the exact words, but when they come and ask you, and that would likely be a very easy way to get involved. I've been asked.
Yes.
Have you had to bite your lip? And I'll ask both of y'all.
Oh, no.
Not a ton. I think and Avery is one of those people, she's very easygoing, very
She is not a
takes
bridezilla.
advice. Yes,
Yes.
she takes advice well.
Yeah.
We've actually, I think it's kind of the other way around, like kind of forcing them to make decisions. Like, this is your wedding. There's been certain things that have come up that it's like, okay, I want you to take a step back. I know you feel that way right now, but are you sure that's the way you want it to be? Are you sure you're going to be okay with that 6 months past the wedding? Just kind of having them make those decisions and kind of pushing them to make decisions on their own. And
Well, it is a smaller venue too, so that was probably first and foremost, one of the biggest things is that they needed to make a list of everybody who they wanted to invite or people that they were going to notify. And granted, had we gone with a bigger venue, we would have different challenges, right? So I think that was the first part, was just trying to get that guest list together. You know, who all needs to be there.
We made the cut.
Yeah, you did. You
Yeah.
made the cut.
Although we almost didn't let them know that we were coming.
There's still time.
Well, and that's the funny thing is it's so funny because, you know, you get these lists of people and you're like, okay, so, you know, Joe Bob's cousins, sisters. What was really funny was,
Sorry, Joe Bob's cousin sister.
you know, but like what was really funny is like Zach sent in, you know, his list. And of course, I've also got, and I know my mom will be watching this, but, you know, my mom's like, oh, are you inviting these cousins and these people and this? And it's kind of, you kind of have to go back to them and say, okay, it's kind of, who does Avery actually know? You know, because we
Right.
have, I mean, I have actually a pretty big family, like external, you know, and trying to understand, it's not, well, he doesn't have as much.
Yeah.
I saw
a big
JP
family.
nod very vigorously
Yeah,
there.
and so, but it's a lot of cousins and,
Yeah.
and different things like that, you know, I know who they are, and mom may keep up with her age group people and through them, the children, but Avery doesn't know them. So,
Well, and y'all still have, you know, so the girls still have both sets of grandparents.
Right.
You
Yes.
know, we only had
yeah.
the wives on two sides, grandparents. So,
That's right.
like,
Yeah.
my side, that side was, the older generation was pretty much gone and not, you know, so so that adds a whole layer
Well,
of,
Yeah, and also considering like the individuals she does know who, like, you know, who have been somewhat involved in their life that are willing to travel too. So I mean,
Right.
there's, you know, she's got friends who have, you know, left the area. She's got,
Right.
you know, so there's those other things, you know, for them to consider as well.
Yeah.
So, and you know, even when it comes down to like some of my friends that have seen her grow up, and they know who she is, and they've seen her when she was a little kid and run around in diapers and everything. But that doesn't mean that, you know, my friends need to come. They're happy for us.
Yeah.
But it really came down to, you guys need to figure out who you truly want to invite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Especially when you've got that size
Yeah.
constraint that you're
right.
describing.
And again, it's not, you know, it's not that we don't want, you know, all these other individuals to be there.
Sure,
And letting them know that, hey, there is, you know, kind of a wedding going on. It's you know, as part of the process, part of the, you know, celebrating that process. So
yeah.
Can I ask, I want to know a little, because there's some other things going on in y'all's lives as you're in the middle of planning a wedding. But if you were to offer kind of what worked really well and what would you want to change about the process so far? If folks are listening here, what would you'd want them to repeat?
the planning the wedding process,
Yeah?
I'll defer to her.
I think what, so I think what,
So what's working well is deferring to Aeryn.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
It's the
What's
first
not
place to
working
start.
well?
I guess the biggest thing for me was like I kind of had a list, right? And I mean, there's so many lists out there of wedding things, and going to Avery and us sitting down and saying what is most important about the wedding, because I know
good.
like I have a friend that's from work that is going to be getting married, and flowers are very important to her.
Okay.
Flowers have never been really important to me, so I was like, hey Avery, do you care about having $3,000 worth of flowers? Or do you want to go buy, you know, fake flowers for $100 and you spend that money on something else?
Right.
You know, things like that.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah, so kind of figuring out what is truly important to the wedding.
Budget.
Yeah, you know, because I mean, you have a budget, right? I mean,
Well, what I like is
weddings get
those two
crazy.
words go hand in hand, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to prioritize if you haven't set a budget or if you have an
Right.
unlimited
Exactly.
budget. which
So you have to
most
have a
folks don't
budget.
have an unlimited
Yeah.
budget, so then you prioritize.
So interestingly enough, we started off without a budget. So and with the research and going and looking at venues and then trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and then what we could actually like afford right now versus what we could afford later. That's where we got to, you know, I guess that's where we started forming a budget. So going through the process, you know, it really started with, you know, did you already set aside, you know, $30,000 or $40,000 for a big wedding, or did you say, hey, we really don't know where we are in this process because we don't know what we can afford right now, and then developing that budget?
So that's an interesting point, because when we were doing our wedding, I never even knew how much it cost
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
probably 20 years later, my dad was like, "Oh, look, I found all the receipts from your wedding." I was like, "Oh, geez, I had no idea how much it cost."
And that seems so out of sync with what today's world would be. Now,
Yeah, I
maybe,
guess.
so I would
Yeah.
imagine Avery's very involved in the numbers and all of that.
Somewhat. One of the big ones was with the venue. So there was the option that they could stay the weekend. There was a different price for if you rented it for the weekend. And so obviously we had a budget of, whatever for just the day.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is how much we think the venue. Well, it's about double, I think, if they say the weekend type thing.
yeah.
Right.
But Zach was very adamant of, I would rather just us all stay there. It's safer that way. We can do the rehearsal dinner, all this stuff. And I was honest with them. And I think that's another thing of advice, right? Getting honest with them because prices are so expensive for things nowadays. Like, I'm willing to pay this amount. So if you want to spend the weekend, that comes out of you.
Yeah.
Like, and he was much, very willing to say, okay, yeah, I can pay that additional amount, that kind of thing.
I think it does help that they are, or at least both of them have a little bit of adulthood kind of behind them now. What their income is, what it looks like, and things that they're willing to put money towards.
Yeah.
And even when they go shopping for furniture and that kind of good stuff that they're trying to think about pulling into the apartment, what does that look like for them?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So they've gotten really good, I guess, really understanding of like the value of everything. And so as we kind of walk through, these are the things that they really want for the wedding. Then we were a little bit more decisive in, okay, these are the things that we can afford to pay for or that we can pay for, and then they were just like, oh, we'll take care of this. We'll take care of the rest.
Yeah, that would be totally different because, like you said, Zach's been working for a
Yes.
while, and
Right.
Avery is now working. But yes, the kids that are getting married while they're still in college,
Yeah,
they
don't have
there's
any
still
money.
money
Yeah.
coming out from them.
here's
Exactly
your
right.
$10.
I don't know about you, but not too many parents.
Yeah.
I mean, not too many parents, really think about, hey, we're going to put $30,000, $40,000, $50,000
No,
towards a wedding.
You think about college. You don't think about saving
Yeah.
for weddings when they're little.
And I think a lot of it's because we're sort of naively not aware. I think we're more aware now, but say 10 years ago, I don't know that we knew. The collective, really knew how expensive the wedding industrial complex is.
Right.
Like
Yeah. It is crazy.
It's a beast. I didn't hear the one thing that you'd change.
I'm trying to think.
As far as changing like the whole process.
Yeah, what you've learned that you'd want to make sure somebody listening doesn't do the same thing.
Or plans to do something. So a lot of people plan on putting money away for the kids to go to college and that kind of stuff, or tech school or whatever it may be, or to have some sort of fund, to get them started in life. I think the one thing that we didn't really think about is, hey, we should probably put together I have two girls. So I didn't think about the fact that, they both may want weddings. There may be things that are going to be a lot more expensive, than I had envisioned. You can't just go have a wedding for $3,000. Well, you could go to Vegas or something, but if you want a decent wedding, or if your first daughter wants a decent wedding, how much money should you be putting aside?
Yeah.
And hindsight's always 20/20. I mean, I could have said, hey, let's just put $100, or $50 a month, in a fund starting when they're 8 years old or something like that, and hopefully by the time a money market account or something. Something.
That's a great.
We are not giving financial
idea.
advice. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Just putting the money away
think
and
that's a
earmarking
great
it. Yeah.
tip.
I mean, how everybody has their buckets of I'm going to put money here and money here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great tip.
So this is a bit of a shift, but I know money goes hand in hand with job, and you were having to go through a job change while you're planning a wedding,
Yes.
while you're an empty nester. There's a
Yes.
lot of layers to that.
Yep.
Walk us through what that job change was like.
Well, the interesting thing is that I actually start the new job Monday, right, from this recording, right?
Insert congratulations noise
Yes.
here.
Thank you very
Right,
much,
yeah.
right?
We
long
we can't
process.
afford sound effects. We don't have the licenses for that. So
Everyone
imagine
just
your
raise
own.
their hands. So interestingly enough, I knew our company was going through a little distress obviously some things don't go as planned. And luckily for us, we maneuvered and made sure that, we could cover all our bills and, we're cutting expenses where expenses, we actually did pretty good planning that out, making sure that, we could cover everything that we needed to, don't go out to eat like one extra time a week, plan better meals at home, all the normal things you do to cut expenses. And, but the interesting thing is that I guess I've gone through, enough job changes to know kind of where I'm at in the market and to actually, I guess it wasn't so much of stress as it was more of a, when does the change really need to happen? And when is it going to come about?
Okay.
For me, when we found out that the company was having some distress, I immediately started getting my name out there, getting a hold of other individuals that I'd worked with in the past, and it was really kind of more comfortable hustle as opposed, not a hustle, what do you want to call it? Just more of a jog as opposed to an actual run to try to find another opportunity. Now, anything could have happened. Our company could have, come back out of that distress and move forward. We didn't know, but we were trying to plan for the worst. And I actually ended up finding something that was very comfortable, for me to move on to. So, yeah.
What about the emotions going through it? So planning a wedding, if I just stopped that sentence, planning a wedding is a high stress experience.
And y'all are also building a
house.
house.
Yep.
So there's lots of things going
I
on.
was
and they're
saving
like,
that one, yeah.
sorry.
Layer one more thing on there.
I didn't know
We've
how
got
much-
lots of
I
stress.
think the concept, go ahead with that. I mean, all of that woven
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, the initial shock and stress and I mean, I think it took me about 2 weeks, I guess, for it to actually hit me. And luckily, we've got a good support group with with the people that we go to church with and everything. So it's really nice to have other individuals to say, hey, I've been there, I've been through this. I think for me it's just more, I'm going through this again.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Been there.
the industry that I'm in, it just happens. And the funny thing is that I actually came to acceptance on that probably a lot sooner than later. And so that was just the easier way to handle it.
Well, and I think having older kids helps too, because we went through, so with his job that he was in with the stress, they basically cut his pay.
Yeah.
So that was some of it. So we went, I mean, I work, but he now was making less than I was, and it was very stressful in that regards. But we did, that started right near the holidays. So, being able to kind of explain to the girls, hey, we're probably not going to be doing much Christmas. There's not going to be, and luckily they're older, and so we're not getting the big toys and they're going to school. Oh, what did you get for Christmas? Oh, nothing, and so that kind of stuff. I guess for me, I was a little more stressed out just because I had no control over it. I like to control things. Other than I could see what, I was paying all the bills.
She saw the money coming and going.
And so just kind of that stress of that. And he was, the company he was with, he felt that loyalty to them. And so working through that, I think was kind of hard of, I see the good in what they were trying to do and things like that, and trying to walk through that of when is it time to move and move on, and
because you got to make a living too. You can't.
At some point
Right.
you can't, it can't sustain that, especially like I said with building a house and having a wedding, and we still have another child that's still in college.
Car repair bills.
So,
How did you, no, not how did you, first, did you purposely segment your emotions? And did you try to do it in that way where it's, okay, look, I know I've got this job change stress, but now I'm focused on the wedding, or we've got to meet with the builder. How did you, or did you keep it from weaving into the stress weaving in and across those categories?
What's really weird is that the stress didn't really, other than that first initial, hit of here we are again. It didn't hit me that bad.
I think we got lucky too with the wedding stuff. So because she got it, I will say another good thing to do is if you're getting married, don't try to get married in 3 months, because then all the bills are due right at the same time. And so we had done a ton of deposits because Avery graduated in May, and then she was starting her nursing stuff, her residency in October. And so I said, okay, over the summer, your job is we're going to get everything picked out and all the deposits done. And so we had already done all that. And so
Okay.
really nothing was really due. You know, so that was nice.
Yeah, so when
Yeah,
the
that's
job
good.
change
Yeah.
hit, it really didn't. We literally did not have to sacrifice anything.
Yeah.
But for the wedding, that
Right.
is, you know, other sacrifices, yes. I mean, but yeah, there was nothing due for the wedding, so it was more of just small decisions that needed to be made, keeping up with, you know, people who need to reply for the wedding, you know, that kind of good stuff. So
Hey, why did we?
By
have
the
them
way,
on the show?
by the way, that stresses Avery out more than it
Yes.
does me.
yes,
Well, please send her my apologies, and
no,
I'll
it's
do
all
it
right.
No, it's
as soon as I get
It's
home.
fine.
But I think that was the biggest thing is that, as Aeryn said, a lot of the big hitters, you know, for what your expenses are, we were able to curtail a lot of that because, again, a lot of the things that you spend money on, especially around Christmas time, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I like to spend money around Christmas time. I think last year, I mean, we just went out and had fun. You know, we truly, like, you know, even my sister was like, "Why did you get me something?" And I was just like, why not? You know,
Yeah.
just because it was for the fun of it. It wasn't for having, you know, it wasn't to expect something in return or anything like that. But the nice thing was that this year we made sure that the family knew that, hey, you know, we're going through a little bit of trouble. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's, but nobody was, the interesting thing is nobody worried. Nobody flipped out about it. Like my parents didn't worry about it. My sister is probably the only person who probably expressed most of the, you know, hey, you need to make a change, you know, type situation. So that's kind of where we ended up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, y'all have given us a lot of good advice. I mean, well, we're not anywhere near anyone that I know about.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Let me ask this though. Now that we've gone through this whole conversation,
Yep.
now that we've gone, like, you've got the floor for 60 seconds. What do you want to tell empty nesters that are about to or are going through wedding planning to get right?
Give yourself time. I mean, the more time that you have, you know, to kind of work through the details of the wedding, all the other noise really is just that. It's just noise. You know, we've worked through all the, you know, issues, and even with me traveling before, like, my travel got cut, you know, we were able to get a lot of stuff done because we had started working on the plan so far in advance. You know, picking a date, picking a venue, trying to figure out how much everything costs, and then developing a budget. Usually it's a little bit backwards. Some people do the budget first, but it actually worked out so far. It's working out pretty good. So.
and what about from the mother of the
I
bride
think that,
perspective?
you know, the biggest thing for me is be involved, but not too involved, right? So let them make those decisions. But they do like your help. I think one of the fun things, and he didn't say this before, like as far as helping, he went when we went wedding dress shopping. So JP went, and it was really fun.
Kleenex?
Actually, that was one of the best things because Avery kind of had an idea of what she wanted, but we kind of show up at the first place we went looking, and she's just standing there in the middle of all these dresses. And so her roommate slash maid of honor, and then JP and I went. And so I was like, okay, no one's going anywhere. Everyone go pick 2 dresses or that you want to see her try on. And it was so much fun because
fun.
Right.
there were things with these dresses that she would have never tried on that dress.
Yeah.
But it was fun to see her in those different things. And so it gave her ideas. And then it was kind of, oh, we like the top of this one and the bottom of this one.
Well,
and
and the person that was helping us shop too, I mean, she was like,
really good.
Yeah, she was really good about like the feedback and that kind of stuff. I don't even remember whose dress won, to be
yeah,
honest.
but it was just kind of nice that, like, you
If
know,
somebody
just,
remembers whose dress won.
just kind of having,
out of
you
my
know,
head.
having fun with it, getting involved in some ways, but then letting them, you know, make some decisions.
And I think what's kind of neat too is that her fiance has been, you know, absolutely wonderful and like communicating back to us like things that he's thinking and things that they want to do as a couple and that kind of stuff too. So I think that's been great that he's been pretty open in his own
That's
communication, but like,
Yeah.
you know, but always accepting of advice.
Yeah.
So and yes, it's great.
Yeah.
Man.
Very good.
Well, thank y'all. I
absolutely.
certainly appreciate y'all being on the show and giving. I know there's like 2 very tactical things that I heard that really hit me that I would not have thought coming into this, and so I know that there's a whole lot of other wisdom that y'all shared, and I thank y'all
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Yeah. Hey, when
No,
you
but
go,
again, like I said, we're nowhere near anybody.
but when you go through it,
yeah.
you won't need all of our opinions, but
Well,
we'll throw it
I'm the
together
one
for you.
that, I still remember somebody, I think it was my dad saying this, but if not, it was somebody else, he would lean over his daughter's bed at night and just whisper, elope.
I think that's every dad
Yeah.
says that to their daughter, but
I know I've said it.
Oh.
And maybe what the younger one does, we'll see.
Yeah.
yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those second ones, I don't know. We'll see where they end up. So, but yeah, thank y'all so much for being on another episode of The Loud Quiet, Living the Empty Nest.